Following the end of World War II, the Allied powers came together with the desire to have a forum where they could work together in the hopes of preventing future conflicts and wars. In the summer of 1945, representatives of 50 countries met in San Francisco at the United Nations Conference on International Organization, where they crafted and signed the UN Charter. In the months to follow, the US Senate approved the UN Charter and the United Nations officially came into existence on October 24, 1945, after 29 nations had ratified the Charter. The 24th October each year is the International United Nations Day. This followed a declaration by the United Nations General Assembly in 1945 which designated 24th of October the anniversary of the Charter of the United Nations by proclaiming that the day would be instrumental in making people aware and it shall be devoted in making known to the people of the world the aims and achievements of the United Nations and to gain their support for its work. By a further resolution adopted in 1971 by the United Nations General Assembly, it was declared that the United Nations Day would henceforth be celebrated as an international holiday, and it was recommended that it will be maintained as a public holiday by all United Nations member states. The event is instituted primarily to disseminate to people worldwide the aims and accomplishment of the United Nations organization. The United Nations Day is in fact part of a longer United Nations Week which spans from the 20th to the 26th of October. The United Nations Day involves celebratory events such as food festivals, showcasing food from around the world, and cultural concerts. In fact, the United Nations Day concert is an important part of the day's celebrations at the United Nations headquarters. Why should we celebrate United Nations Day? Here are 3 excellent reasons. The UN saves lives. While world media attention focuses on the international controversies and the policy intervention failures, it rarely covers the UN's powerful life-saving work with its agencies like the World Food Programme, the UN Peacekeeping Forces, and the many other UN agencies. One example, WFP feeds 90 million people in 80 countries every year. Another example, the UN's program for women promote maternal and child health, saving the lives of 30 million women a year. Another example, the UN vaccinates 58% of the world's children, which saves 3 million lives every year. The UN helps refugees. Every year, the United Nations assists 38 million refugees, saving them from wars, conflict, famine, and persecution. The UN fights climate change and promotes sustainable development. No organization on earth does more to protect the environment than the United Nations, which fosters knowledge, conducts research, and brokers international climate treaties. Without the work of the United Nations, many experts believe the world would have to deal with enormous levels of conflict and chaos and would have to establish an international governmental body to maintain the world's national and political equilibrium anyway.
Some of the most memorable moments in UN history occurred during General Assembly week. Asking to decide which is the best General Assembly or the best moment, very hard. I mean, there was a time George Bush, as U.S. President, was sitting in the Security Council chamber during that week, and he passed a note to Condoleezza Rice, and a photographer in one of the overhead booths zoomed in on it, and you could tell he was saying he had to go to the bathroom. How about Muammar Gaddafi, longtime leader of Libya? He was supposed to speak like everyone else for about 15 minutes. He went on for 96 minutes, at one point ripping a portion of a page in the United Nations Charter. Another big moment happened several times. Then President Ahmadinejad of Iran denounced various aspects of 9/11, attacked the West, and various Western countries had their representatives get up out of their chairs and head for the exits. I remember the time U.S. President Bush spoke in 2006.
Your lives and the credibility of the United Nations is at stake.
Afterward, the Venezuelan leader, Hugo Chavez, spoke, and in probably one of the more memorable quotes, he came up to the podium and he said he detects the smell of sulfur in the air, indicating that he felt the devil and George Bush had been there.
And it smells of sulfur still today.
Another moment, Turkish leader Erdogan demanded to go inside the General Assembly hall when Palestinian President Abbas was about to declare the quest for statehood. What happened? Turkish security tried to get in the wrong exit door to go in, and UN security kept them out, and there was a fistfight and a battle with various uniformed UN personnel on the floor. This is the Super Bowl of diplomacy, and you never know what can happen during these special weeks.